Well, yeah, I decided to do a Facebook Live right now because I have a little bit of a layover. For those who are watching, it's currently 5:46 Pacific time on Saturday, the 14th of May. Anyway, I am currently not where I'm supposed to be right now. So um, the basic point of this is that I'm currently in Sacramento. I'm supposed to be in Las Vegas right now, and I'll explain why I'm in Las Vegas. And I was only supposed to be there through Sunday night, but that's no longer the case. So uh, I'm going to start with the whole Spirit Airlines issue, and I'm probably going to be all convoluted with this particular story because I have been all over the place since about, I'm going to say about noon, and this entire ordeal probably could have been prevented by me not flying with Spirit Airlines. So, it's just one of those things where you wonder why certain businesses exist. And I understand this whole thing about saving money because people fly all the time and everything like that. But, if you're going to be selling a product, it better be reliable, because then in the end, the massive amount of time that has been wasted and the money that has been lost is just not worth it for a lot of people, and then they just decide, there's no point. So here's what's going on, and I'm hoping that this recording goes through because it's all about whether or not everything points out and whatever like that. So I'll backtrack to February 28th. To be exact. And I had this random idea because Silk Sonic, if you've heard of Silk Sonic, it's that group with Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, and they're in Vegas for a 25-show residency at the Dolby Live Theater over at Park MGM, so it's like the south side of the Strip. And I had this random idea that I could go in and just watch that concert super quick and then fly back home. Oh, and yeah, this is a beautiful airport. Hi Susan. So I have actually not been back at Sacramento since 2006. I actually don't even remember what it looked like in 2007, when I was still working for LA Unified, because I got sent up to Napa for some training, and I flew out of Burbank to come here, and I actually don't remember how nice this airport is, and it's actually a nice airport. So I'm like, cool, at least it's a nice airport. So I know, I already messaged my friends in Sacramento that I'm down the street, but I can't say hi, kind of thing. So anyway, we go back to the story. So February 28th, I decide I'm going to get one ticket for Silk Sonic because it's actually almost sold out in most places. And I found a good day to do it. I decided on May 14th, today. A good Saturday night. The show doesn't begin until 9 p.m., so that just allows me to go ahead and, do whatever I want in Vegas. Fly in early the day of. Mess around. I don't need to mess around too much because I've been to Vegas enough times. I just want to go select a few things I like. And then I go and watch the show and then stay over at my friend's house, which, he's still waiting for me and he's currently at work. So I'm just going to go and as soon as he gets off of work is when the show ends. So we'll just carpool, go have some oysters or something at the 24-hour bar or something, and then just go back and chill. So that was the plan. Or so I thought it was the plan. So what happened was, I decided, okay, I want to make this cheap, so I go Spirit. And the thing is, this is not the first time I've flown Spirit. The first time I flew Spirit, I was actually flying one way. Actually, it was both from LAX to Columbus, Ohio, and then Columbus, Ohio back. I had no issue with Spirit going to Columbus and back. It was actually a very uneventful flight, and I thought, okay, fine, things were going to be fine. So I said, okay, let me book again with Spirit, because it was cheap, whatever, and I wasn't going to bring any bags with me because I was only going to be there for less than, 24, 30 hours, whatever. So I said, sure, I'll go ahead and do that. So I booked the flight, and initially the first flight I booked was going to be for, 12:30 p.m. or whatever. I think it was actually 1:45 p.m. And then it was going to land in at Las Vegas at about 2:40, about an hour, okay? It's like an hour flight to Vegas. And then I set up my return flight to be Sunday at 7:30 p.m. And with a, landing at 8 o'clock, 8:30, 8:45 p.m., back in LAX. So it was just like a turnaround trip. I could spend Sunday chilling, I was gonna spend Saturday, doing whatever. And so of course I had this all set up. I even like reserved a buffet at the Wynn that would have happened actually at 5:15 today. And I will let you know that because of this whole fiasco, I actually had to cancel that reservation, and it was non-refundable. So I'm a little pissed about that. I did reschedule it though, and I am going to go tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. because I'm going to be stuck in Las Vegas all the way through Monday night. So what happened was, going back to this whole thing, I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting emails, like Spirit I'm learning, is very notorious for changing times very quickly and very randomly. And I'm going, okay, that's great. So I'm watching these emails, and the first red flag actually came from the returning trip. And that red flag was my original flight that was set for 7:30 p.m. I got an email the day, this was like Friday, and we're looking at it, and it was telling me that my flight time had been changed from 7:30 p.m. to 9:40 a.m. Yes, my flight was pushed forward by 10 hours without telling me or giving me any warning. I was bumped off to another flight. And I'm looking at this going, what the hell? So I'm very confused by this, okay? And hi Janita. Yeah, I'm stuck in Sacramento for about 40 minutes, and then I'm gonna move on to my final destination. But so I'm looking at this, it's like, why was my flight pushed forward by 10 hours? And so I call and I ask them, like, what the hell, like what's going on? And they explained to me that that they're claiming that I said I took the emails and I actually confirmed that I was going to do it. I'm supposed to confirm itinerary changes, and I did, but every time I confirmed an itinerary change, it continuously said 7:30 p.m., 7:30, 7:45, or whatever that time was. So I'm going, okay, this is really bizarre. And I asked them, I said, can you put me back to the 7:30 time? And they said that, yeah, we could, but it would cost you $200. And I'm like, okay. So after a little bit of mulling around about this and just realizing that it wasn't really worth it for me to do that, I just said, okay, I'm going to just keep that time, and it looks like it's just going to be an early out, and I'll be back home before noon on Sunday. Whatever, fine. As I thought. So I'm going, okay, all right, fine. So I shouldn't have a problem with the flight out, right? So I'm looking at my flight, and it says 1:46 p.m. Okay, cool. So I leave at about 12:15, and I get out there. And I park my bike. So I actually my motorcycle is actually parked in Terminal 5 right now. And I get there, and I go through TSA. I get my bottle of water. I'm there. I'm getting ready to chill and wait. I get to the gate. The flight leaves at 1:24. What time did I get to the gate? 1:16. They had already closed the doors. And I'm going, you have to be freaking kidding me that this happened, because there was no time change announcement telling me that it went from 1:46 to 1:24. And I'm going, you gotta be kidding me. So of course I go to the lady at the and I said, I missed my flight, like seriously? And I said, okay, is there an alternative that I have? And so she looks through there and she goes, yeah, there's nothing until tomorrow. And I said, well, that's not going to work for me. Because I have to be in Vegas no later than, well, I have to get there before 9 p.m. The doors open at 7:30. And I don't know if there's an opening act, and I really don't care about the opening act, so that's fine. So I decide, okay, this is gonna blow. So I leave. Yeah, I know, Kay, this sucks. It's screw Spirit Airlines. This is my rant until I get onto my Southwest flight to Vegas. And so I end up going to I leave the terminal basically, and I get out to the bottom to Terminal 5, and they're telling me, okay, just go down to ticketing and they should be able to change your flight or whatever. And I'm like, at this point I need to just find any airline that has something available. So while I'm walking down to Terminal 5, I get onto Southwest website, and it looks like they have one last flight to Vegas that arrives at 7:40 p.m. but there's a stopover in Sacramento. At this point, I'm just going to take whatever I can get. So I go ahead, book that flight while I'm walking toward Terminal 5 ticketing. And I booked. Cool. I've solved that problem. Now I've got to figure out what the hell to do with this returning flight. So I get down to the Spirit terminal, and I tell them what's going on. I said, okay, I missed this flight. What do I do? Of course, nobody in ticketing down there can do shit. So I end up getting a little business card. This is what the freaking A they gave me. They gave me this stupid business card, and it has the phone number for me to actually call. So I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. You guys suck. So I go ahead and I call, and I have my earpiece on, and I'm walking from Terminal 5, LAX, to Terminal 1 to Southwest, and I'm on the phone, and I'm just like, okay, so what can I do? I missed my flight. And they go, well, we'll just let you know that the first flight is non-refundable because you missed it. If you had a delay or something and was able to reschedule prior to the flight, then we would be fine with it. But that you forfeited that flight. I said, really? Okay. So what can I do about the return flight? And they said, well, you can change that return flight because it hasn't happened yet. I said, okay, fine. So I decide, fine, I'm going to do that. I'm still trying to figure out where I want to. I have basically until tomorrow to change this flight, and I'm going to come up with a different location. Hey Katrina, how you doing? I'm stuck in Sacramento. Feel free to continue enjoying my little saga right now. I hope you're well. So I'm like, okay, what can I do? And they said, well, we can change that flight to any other future flight as long as you don't, you do it before boarding, or before the reservation, takes place. And I said, okay. And they said, yeah, and we're gonna have to charge you a fee for the change. What? Are you kidding me? Hi, Nancy. Yeah, this is my airport follies. And by the way, Sacramento Airport is beautiful, and I have great cell phone reception, so I can rant and rave while I'm on here. Anyway. And I'm totally good. I don't leave for another 30 minutes. Anyway, I'm on the phone, and they're like, yeah, it's going to cost you $85 or something to change the flight. I'm going, great. And so I just decided to take my time to get on my soapbox and just let them know that this has been probably the most convoluted, messed up, I got jerked around twice in terms of my times with Spirit. And I am currently living a nightmare. I'd call it a nightmare. It's a pretty messed up situation. It's a little expensive too, but I was able to, solve this problem myself because, problem solving skills are great. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll get back to you on that, and I'll change that flight over. I'm going to use it. I'll fly Spirit one more time just so that I don't lose that flight completely. And I'm going to figure out where I want to go. I might just delay that flight to November for my birthday weekend. And, I'm really contemplating my choices, Susan, about filing an official complaint, because there is a place on the Spirit website, of course there would be, because they were expecting this kind of crap, that I'm going to go in and just be like, how come there were so many changes? It's like, I don't know which version of the email you sent me. It's like, I get a time, I go there, I have never missed a flight. In the entire time I've flown, the only time that I've missed a flight was because it was canceled due to a snowstorm in Ohio. I was trying to fly back to Ohio from LA. And this was before I came home permanently. So that was the only time I've ever missed a flight because it was canceled under my nose. Okay, that's not my problem. Anyway, so I get to the Southwest counter. So I finally walk around. And by the way, during this entire time, I actually made my step count for the day. So at least I get some exercise out of this. And I get to the Southwest counter. I tell them the situation. I said, okay, here's what's up. I already booked online my trip to Vegas. I want to book my trip back. What you got? So they tell me what they have, and it looks like the most economical thing I have, and thankfully I can work remotely. So this isn't completely horrible. The only thing that's probably going to happen is my physical therapy appointment. I'm going to have to cancel that Monday, which is totally fine because I think playing hockey on Friday was definitely more than enough physical therapy for me for the week. And it's funny because my physical therapist is actually in Las Vegas right now for another concert. So of course I'm going to have to tell her what happened while she's working on me on Wednesday, and I'm going, okay, fine. And then in regards to my availability time, my Airbnb doesn't get reused again until Wednesday, so I have time to clean that up. And the rats are taken care of because I have 2 wonderful volunteers who I told about the situation, and they are completely aware of it, and they can spend the extra day and a half and just make sure the rats have food. That's really a good thing. So it's totally okay. Anyway, so while all this is going on, I tell them, okay, what you got? And they said, well, if you fly back on Monday night, it'll be the cheapest. And I said, okay. And what time does that leave on Monday night? And they're like, 8 o'clock. I said, okay, I can do 8 o'clock. That's totally fine. You know, I can spend an extra day in Vegas. And usually Mondays at work are pretty slow, and I have an iPad, and most of the stuff I have does not need any special software to complete. So at this point, I'm just going to do the work remotely, and here I am. You know, this is where the benefit of being able to work remote comes in. So with all of this going on, Southwest solved my problem because they actually had flights available for me last second to get to and back from Las Vegas in a more convenient manner. And now I have this mess of basically eating a charge for the buffet at Wynn and eating one half of my trip from Spirit and trying to save the second half of the trip from Spirit to book one more flight. And then I promise I will never use them again for as long as I live. Because my brother worked for Frontier back in the day, and Frontier wasn't even this screwed up. So I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me, right? So that's where I am currently. I'm still trying to figure out, I have a little bit of time because I got to call the Spirit customer service to tell them exactly what day and that I want to change this flight over to. So I'm looking at the possible destinations. I am exploring everything possibly from Philadelphia to somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know. I could do a turnaround trip, or I could book Vegas one more time. I could go anyway with this, but that's kind of where things are. It has been infuriating. I actually, if this flight had, if I had actually made this flight, if they didn't keep moving the target on me, I would have been in Vegas already for about 3 hours. So that's what's going on. That's how I ended up in Sacramento for the second time in 3 months, and inadvertently. And so the moral of the story is, like, don't fly Spirit. They suck. I mean, if you didn't, and I, pardon my French, but I fucked around and found out. So I now know that Spirit is basically Satan, and don't do it. Just don't. You need to save a few bucks. It's not worth the anguish. It's not worth risking missing your flight because they decided to play musical chairs with the freaking terminals. Not cool. This is completely unheard of. And said, the only way that I would ever miss a flight is if someone told me the wrong time, and they did it to me twice, or at least twice. So not wrong about it. Anyway, I hope everyone else is doing fine. For those who actually been sitting through this entire video, good job. I haven't done a Facebook Live in a very long time, and usually it's for good reasons, but this one here, we're at that point where, like, y'all need to know that Spirit blows. They can go suck on something that I can't talk about in front of the children. And, not cool. At this point, I would have been better off, like, driving in my car and just getting off, getting to I-15. But, I did this out of convenience. And to be honest, this is the first time I have flown to Las Vegas since 2007, 2008. So it's been a very long time since I even bothered to jump in a plane to go to Vegas. I usually drive or ride there. I haven't had any reason, but sometimes convenience can cause some pain at times. I'm starting to see. But oh well. Obviously you can't really get mad over this too badly, but you can definitely get even. But I'll tell you, I am looking forward to tonight because, when they have to mail you the ticket because they don't have an electronic version, you have to physically bring in a ticket, and they lock all your cell phones because it's a very intimate performance. I'm not going to miss this for the world. Or at least I'm going to try to as much as I can. But yeah, it's pretty cool. They gave us a plastic ticket, so it's actually a souvenir, which is pretty sweet, there's no video of this concert. The set list is available on the internet, so you can actually see, like, what list set he goes through, and I've already previewed that. Granted that, regardless, it's going to be a great time. And 24-hour oyster bar afterwards with my friend Dane, I'm totally good with that because I think we all need it at this point. Oh yeah, and then on a bright note, my friend Mike, who's my massage therapist and my head of hamsters for the rescue, works at LAX in Terminal 1 during the weekends on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And because I got moved to Terminal 1, I was able to visit him at work for the first time, like inside, and I got him Chick-fil-A for lunch because I could. So that actually worked out well too. So I'm glad at least that worked out. So yeah, that's me venting. And just as a precaution, friends don't let friends fly Spirit Airlines. Yeah. Ah. All right. Let's see. I think my flight out of here is a 6:20, I believe. Let's check this out. Yeah, I leave it. So boarding is at 5:51. So it's currently. Well, I'm boarding C. It's actually 6:07 right now, and I probably should get out of here. So anyway, I will talk to you all later. Be good out there, and I'm not missing this flight. I'm going to be angry if I miss this one. Talk to y'all soon.